This is Kanji Ann, known as Min, in the original anime. A prodigy at just 30 already, a deputy professor of pharmacology. Kanji's job, unlocking the secrets of medicines that could cure the incurable. Yet, behind his brilliance lies a shadow. His academic title feels like a cage. Kanji once had a little sister named Chi, who was stolen away by cancer far too soon. That loss is a wound etched deep in his heart. Kanji often wishes things were different, if only he'd grown strong enough to invent a cure for her back then. One day, he heads to the lab, extracts a special solution, and sets a timer planning to return, just in time. As he waits, he drifts into a slumber, not of this world, a sleep that launches him straight into another realm. Suddenly, Kanji opens his eyes, and it's not the familiar lab he sees, but a pink-haired girl in a lavish room, scented with noble grandeur. Dazed, he struggles to his old body and moves toward a window. Throwing it open, he's greeted by a breathtaking landscape, a kingdom that seems to pulse with ancient magic. Though a master of medicine at Harvard, Kanji now faces a world where magic and science blend into one. In this kingdom, his noble lineage shines bright, his family places immense hope in him, and his younger brother, not only as healers, but as spellcasters. Hearing this, Farmer Kanji's new identity here is puzzled. Magic here too, but the loyal servant's anxiety is real. Mastering magic is proof he belongs to the nobility. Fail, and he's outcast from the castle walls. Farmer skilled in water magic learns that to summon his power, he must visualize water's form within his heart. Following guidance from Charlotte, his body begins to glow, and water spontaneously flows from his hands, drenching the plants below. While most would scold such a mess, Charlotte bursts with joy, eager to celebrate her master's breakthrough. Without missing a beat, Charlotte changes clothes to mark the occasion, showering Farmer with gifts like gold, salt, sugar, and more. Farmer instantly breaks the age-old rule of no work, no eat, championed by his mentor master Juan. But when Charlotte arrives, she swiftly cleans up the mess, greeting Farmer with the enthusiasm of a puppy wagging its tail. Suddenly, Charlotte's face darkens, the dreaded dinner test looms. The master frequently drags Farmer for a grueling 3-minute pharmacology quiz. Fail, and it's game over. As Farmer heads to the library, he's overwhelmed by the mountain of medical texts he must master. Even more shocking, the kingdom's medical knowledge mirrors Earth's centuries-old science. Dinner arrives, and the family gathers, sharing laughter and stories. Farmer's heart aches, reminded of the sister he lost, an unhealed scar that still gnaws at him. Later, his father quizzes him on the ingredients in a healing ointment. Luckily, Farmer had studied beforehand. His smooth answers earn his father's approval to continue his studies. The next morning, Farmer meets his teacher, who instantly senses something unusual. His magic is more refined, and he respectfully calls her sensei. Strange, isn't it? Farmer jokes, it's because he's still dazed and missing memories. Hearing this, Elena the teacher begins to understand the mystery surrounding this young noble. Today, Ellen started Farmer's basic magic lessons. After the teacher gave a rundown of the elemental attributes, Farmer's curiosity sparked. He asked if someone can create anything they imagine. What kind of attribute would that be? That question soared beyond Ellen's grasp. She confessed, if anyone could do that, it would be a god or a demon. And with that, class was underway. During practice, Farmer forgot his staff, so Ellen lent him hers, a beautifully crafted water staff she had made earlier. Farmer admired it deeply, his fingers trembling as he grasped the staff. Closing his eyes in concentration, he unleashed a devastating water dragon blast that sent Ellen flying backward. Amazed by his overwhelming power, Ellen summoned her divine power meter, and to her shock, Farmer's force shattered it. Ellen's shock deepened as she noticed bizarre, glowing runes lighting up Farmer's arm. She warned him sternly, from now on, never wield divine power openly around others, or you'll be benched immediately. As class ended, Ellen having lost her glasses and thus her sight felt blind. Farmer gently took her hand, guiding her like a lighthouse in the dark. As they rested, Farmer's divine eyes caught something alarming. Ellen had sprained her ankle. Ellen was stunned. Only a medicine god's divine sight could reveal such details. Fear flickered in her eyes, but that was nothing compared to the horror that followed. Farmer's shadow was nowhere to be seen. Ellen was so terrified she literally dropped her pants and ran away. The next morning, Ellen called in sick, and Farmer was sent to deliver medicine and a love letter to her by his father Bruno. Suddenly, Farmer became an unwilling messenger. Upon inspection, he realized the medicine was no better than the energy drink sold at the market. If you had a fever, a simple holy paradon pill would suffice. Why bother with that energy drink? When Farmer arrived, Ellen welcomed him clad in a 9th century knight armor, with her treasured staff from the west threatening to beat him to a pulp. Farmer had to prove he wasn't hiding any weapons to lower her guard. Seeing him bring medicine to treat her, Ellen suspected poison. Farmer then played the role of the peace ambassador, convincing her to take the medicine and return as his tutor. "You're the reincarnation of Huatuo," he said. "Why do you still need to be my teacher?" But thanks to his heartfelt plea, Ellen agreed to come back. All she wanted was Farmer to save her weary life. Mission accomplished. Farmer left. The next day, Ellen returned dressed as a white knight, and wielding her staff no one would dare touch a hair on her head. Fully recovered. Ellen noticed Farmer's medicine worked faster than her father's. Plus the flower Farmer gave her the exact colour she adored, made her heart soften toward him. Together, they trained hard on the deserted island. Back home, Farmer used his divine eyes to diagnose illnesses. The light vanished for curable diseases, but lingered faintly when incurable. This discovery became Farmer's secret weapon. Yet possessing such overwhelming power was a double-edged sword. Exposure meant painted targets. Evil forces would exploit his uniqueness to eliminate him. So Farmer made it a point to bond deeply with everyone around him. Right after he learned that Charlotte was suffering from severe eczema, and immediately set out to craft a cure, combining glycerin with other compounds. Farmer brewed an effective medicine. He delivered it to Charlotte, whose hands cracked from constant water exposure. For mild cases, moisturizing cream sufficed. For severe, just add a bit of Soteo ointment. Charlotte was overjoyed and eager to share Farmer's medicine with everyone. Seeing this, Farmer began making special remedies tailored for each person. Everyone was thrilled to receive Farmer's medicines. Even Aunt Maidellen burst into tears, thanking Farmer profusely. Farmer was surprised by such overwhelming gratitude. Never before had a servant been given medicine by their master. His father was a pharmacist who treated nobles, but never common folk. The steep cost of medicine made it impossible for ordinary people to afford treatment, fueling Farmer's resolve. In this era, effective medicine was rare, so people relied on magic to heal, resulting in high mortality rates. Like his father, Farmer was forbidden from treating servants. But now, Farmer vowed to break these rules and bring medicine to the poor villagers. Hearing this bold declaration, Charlotte believed Farmer would become an outstanding pharmacist. Farmer felt elated. The next morning, Farmer greeted his parents as usual, but grim news awaited. His little sister had contracted chickenpox. I bet everyone remembers this from childhood on Earth. Usually, it's mild. But here, it was dangerous. His father forbade Farmer from going near her for 3 weeks. Servants would take turns caring for her. 4 years ago, Farmer himself had chickenpox, so he had immunity, but his father still forbade him, fearing reinfection. Secretly, Farmer brewed a chickenpox remedy and went to Blan's room. Upon entry, he assessed her condition. She was infected with the herpes virus. He wanted her to take medicine, but it was too bitter, so Farmer hid it in her cake to make it easier. Though young Blan knew her illness was incurable and was curious, Farmer skillfully dodged questions, asking her to keep his visit secret. Suddenly, Blan felt an unbearable itch and wanted to scratch, but Farmer stopped. Her bursting blisters would spread the virus. After she took the medicine, Farmer stayed to read her stories, something he'd never done before. This touched Blan deeply. His words echoed those of Chi, bringing tears to his eyes. Thanks to his medicine, Blan recovered quickly, astonishing their father, and she asked the girl to keep her sudden arrival a secret. Blan felt an itch that made her want to scratch, but Farmer stopped her. "If you burst those blisters, the virus could spread to you," he warned. After she took the medicine, Farmer stayed behind to read her a story, a gesture he had never done before. This made Blan's heart swell with affection for him. His words echoed those of Chi, causing a sting in his eyes. Thanks to his medicine, she recovered swiftly. When they returned to the room, Farmer immediately crafted an optical microscope to better utilize his divine eyesight. Suddenly, the butler sought him out, inviting him to meet his father. The reason Lord Juno wanted him to accompany them to treat the queen whose health had taken a sudden turn for the worse. They needed to head to the palace right away. As Farmer heard his father coughing violently, he realized something wasn't right. He quickly grabbed his divine eyesight, but his father insisted he prepare his things immediately, causing him to miss the chance to diagnose his father. Once father and son arrived at the palace, they were greeted by the physician, and Lord Juno rushed inside to examine the queen. After a thorough checkup, the physician noted that her condition had worsened further. The astrologer revealed that a malevolent star was casting its shadow over her fate. The queen's prognosis was grim. She had little chance of recovery. Lord Juno began preparing pain relief medication to temporarily alleviate her suffering, but Farmer knew this medicine wouldn't cure her. At this moment, the royal family was already preparing to call for a priest to conduct the queen's funeral. It infuriated Farmer to realize that no one truly wanted to heal her. In the realm of Hung Tin Chu, this group's queen had more fury than kindness. Meanwhile, Bo Juno began concocting an anesthetic to numb and ease the queen's pain temporarily. Farmer already knew this medicine couldn't cure her. The royal court was preparing to summon a priest for the queen's funeral. Farmer sensed no one genuinely wished to heal her, and that realization ignited a burning anger within him. Fueled by resolve, Farmer activated his inner sight to peer through the queen's body. After careful observation, he glimpsed into the future. There he saw himself crafting a medicine that would cure the queen's illness and his father's. But when Farmer sought to continue his work, his father tore up the formula sheet. Farmer quickly erected an icy shield to block his father's interference. Yet Farmer soon realized this man was no father to him. In his hand he held a glowing seal. Suddenly, Bo Juno's attention caught a notebook filled with pharmaceutical knowledge, something Farmer had never read. Farmer explained he had dreamed of these insights after a lightning strike and the god of medicine had blessed it. Reluctantly, his father allowed him to proceed with making the medicine. Once finished, Farmer carefully brought the remedy to the queen. Before giving it to her, he showed the vile bacteria extracted from her body. The queen was horrified. She immediately summoned the chief physician to examine the sample. The doctor's shock mirrored the queen's terror. Seeing everyone panic, Farmer explained this was the tuberculosis bacteria causing her illness spread through the air. He warned everyone to cover their mouths. If the queen took the medicine on schedule and in the correct dose, she could be healed completely in half a year. The wise queen accepted treatment. From that moment, Farmer pledged to visit the palace daily to monitor her condition. First, he tested the medicine on himself to ensure it was safe before giving it to the queen. Farmer had now entrusted his life to the royal family. If anything happened to the queen, Farmer would face severe consequences. Yet he declared with confidence that from now on, the kingdom would no longer be ravaged by tuberculosis. The high-ranking officials applauded his medical talent, and the queen was deeply pleased. On his way home, Bruno was filled with regret for neglecting his son. He always taught that a healer must care deeply for their patients, yet he had ignored his son's feelings. Slowly, his son had become a stranger to him. Upon arriving, Farmer handed his father the medicine. Bruno finally accepted Farmer's talent and the will of the gods swallowing the medicine. Perhaps the gods wanted him to deepen his knowledge further. Farmer believed otherwise. He still longed for his father's guidance, because he had never truly faced his patients before. In truth, he was still just an apprentice pharmacist. Extending his hand, Farmer invited his father to journey together toward the pinnacle of medical skill. Bruno grasped the small hand warmly, and together they returned home. Farmer and Bo Juno exchanged pharmaceutical knowledge. The medicine Farmer prescribed for the queen was genuinely effective. A prestigious medical university expressed interest in publicizing his method, but Farmer hesitated. He wasn't ready to reveal it yet. Only when he felt the ingredients were fully reliable would he consider sharing his discovery with the world. This was not just a story of medicine. It was a journey of trust, defiance, and the fragile hope that even a single person's determination can spark healing in a world shadowed by despair. When it comes to handcrafted medicine, Farmer plans to eventually reveal his formula widely, so other apothecaries can build upon it and create the next great innovation. But Bo Juno sees this as a blasphemous ideal, knowing others might scheme to sabotage him. This fear is exactly what haunts Farmer's father. Changing the subject, he reveals shocking news: someone has introduced tuberculosis into the royal palace. Farmer is stunned. The infection rate is only about 10%, yet someone dared use this method to poison the Queen. Foolish beyond measure. As the time for the Queen's examination approaches, Farmer asks to leave early, leaving Bruno alone in the room. Bruno recalls a haunting conversation about this world's cruel ideals, a memory that shakes him deeply. Farmer arrives only to be eagerly called out by Noah for a private talk. He shares urgent news with the farmer. The Queen is considering rewarding Farmer so he should share the prize with his comrades. Usually, nobles crave gold jewels and land, but this deputy professor wants nothing more than to open an affordable pharmacy where anyone can buy effective medicine. Truly, a man apart. Now the Queen's medicine is taking effect, making her feel stronger day by day. But medicine's power is unpredictable. Farmer can't guarantee her health will improve further, which leaves the Queen feeling hopeless. Farmer quickly comforts her, urging her to think positively and fight with all her might to live a long life alongside her loved ones. As we near death, the chance to live again means we must live better than before. Months later, the Queen fully recovers. She hosts an award ceremony inviting Bo Juno and Farmer. Farmer's father is granted fertile land for cultivating herbs. Suddenly, Farmer is called up to receive his own reward. His stunned expression says, "Who am I, where am I?" He even forgets to thank the Queen. Farmer is promoted from apprentice apothecary to royal apothecary and granted a special license to open a pharmacy in the capital. From this, Farmer suspects who the Queen's informant might be and silently thanks his friends and the Queen herself. The very next day, the Queen rushes to start construction, shocking Farmer into near fainting since he's unprepared. All skilled workers have gathered, and if they don't act, vast royal forces will sweep them away. Plus, the prime location has been chosen. Farmer has no choice but to take action. Ellen arrives to help open the pharmacy. Hearing that Farmer isn't ready to decide quickly, she's terrified that the whole group might lose their heads literally. So she advises Farmer it's okay to tear down and rebuild if the first try fails. The Queen has plenty of money, and seeing everyone's urgency, Farmer sketches his dream pharmacy blueprint. The next day, construction begins swiftly. Before the pharmacy's door is even finished, Farmer is forced to name it. After countless thoughts, he blurts out the otherworldly pharmacy. The old man next door finds the name quite okay, while Don, the goat, shuts down any chance for Farmer to object. Farmer's pharmacy is freshly unveiled, only to be immediately disturbed by a wealthy man who mistakes him for an employee. The purple-faced man is Vidon, chairman of the National Apothecaries Association. He demands to see the boss scrutinizing Farmer like a hawk. He suspects Farmer sells candy laced with medicine. Bingo Farmer admits, "I sell medicine shaped like candy." His innocent words make Vidon laugh heartily. He's just learned a new way to make medicine. Farmer wonders if he needs to join the Apothecaries Association to sell such medicine. The old man dodges the question, saying the association is full of nepotism and corruption. Yet, if it were Farmer, he'd reluctantly let him in. Farmer, proud and independent, declines. "You all can play your games without me." But the story isn't over. Vidon assumes Farmer's pharmacy will only stock expensive products. But Farmer fires back, "Nope. I sell affordable remedies for the people, just small change." This infuriates Vidon, but Ellen steps in to change the subject. Vidon respects her fiercely protective attitude, like a lioness guarding her cub, and quickly backs down. Farmer faces staffing issues. He hasn't found anyone fit for the accounting position. Lotta quickly volunteers, though she's just a kid who usually plays pretend with fake money. Farmer lets her help with cleaning and chores. Excited Lotta dances a tango to cha-cha music in celebration. But when Farmer returns home, he finds his sister crying and the whole family is downcast. It turns out Farmer's father has sent the family's financial manager, Xidao Rich, back to their hometown for knee treatment. This manager handles all their bookkeeping. Farmer seizes the chance and pulls him under his wing. The father agrees and even gifts Farmer a large chest filled with gold coins, a grand opening present for the pharmacy. He also promises to help solve Farmer's staffing problems. The father hopes his son will find success with the pharmacy. Opening day arrives and Farmer delivers a heartfelt speech to the entire capital's residents. Outside, many rival shop owners plot to bring him down. The speech ends and the otherworldly pharmacy officially opens its doors. Yet despite expectations, business is slow. No customers for 3 months. It's understandable. The poor buy from cheap shops. Nobles summon apothecaries to their homes. Who visits a shop in Charlotte's district? Anyway, farmer surveys, public opinion. Most complaints sound unreasonable, like the owner is a kid or the gatekeeper is too scary. Even the Queen's seal outside is a topic of gossip. The biggest worry is people fear prices are too high, even though farmer negotiates prices. Exidao Rich suggests putting the price list outside, but with many illiterate who'd read it, a real dilemma. The next day, as usual, Mr. Jan enters to buy candy medicine. He's the pharmacy's top regular customer. Farmer guesses he's a sailor because the candy contains vitamin C good against scurvy. Mr. Jan quickly dodges Farmer's questions, claiming he's off to meet a friend, then leaves. Farmer steps outside and notices Mr. Jan's backpack. Just then, an elderly couple arrives to visit the pharmacy. Farmer instantly recognizes them as his own family. He leads his mother on a tour of the rooms. The medicine storage is on the first floor. The second floor holds the clinic and resting beds for patients. The third floor is the staff resting area, while the fourth floor is the research lab, a sanctuary where Farmer crafts new medicines from alchemy's secrets. After the tour, Bruno is impressed with the pharmacy, except for one glaring issue: the shop is painfully empty. Farmer's mother suggests a bold new venture. Why not sell beauty cosmetics for the nobles? The idea sparkles. Cosmetics are the treasure troves of women's hearts who would gladly empty their pockets just to shine in others' eyes. Moreover, in his past life, Farmer had worked with a cosmetics company, so he carries some knowledge in crafting beauty products. But when Farmer shows interest in this new path, Lady Juno immediately forbids him from selling makeup. Her reasoning is chilling. Those who wear it often meet an early grave. Selling such products, she warns, is like dealing death wrapped in silk. Her caution is no exaggeration. In this era, makeup is made from lead and mercury poisonous metals that slowly suffocate the body with every breath. Lady Juno also knows of noble women who obsessively draw blood to maintain a pale complexion, a dangerous game with life itself. Yet, she empathizes deeply with their desperation. Seeing his wife tempted by such risks, her husband soothes her, saying, "You're beautiful without any makeup." The wife beams with happiness, while Farmer watches the scene amused by the domestic sweetness. Suddenly, a panicked young man bursts into the pharmacy, pleading for Farmer to rush and save his lady. Without hesitation, Farmer dashes to her side. Though the lady remains conscious and responsive, her face is pale. A closer look reveals her circulatory and respiratory systems are intact, but her arms bear delicate cuts too perfect to be self-inflicted despair. Farmer deduces these are doctor-made incisions, the real culprit. Excessive bloodletting has left her wounds infected. He quickly takes her back to the shop to prepare medicine. The lady's obsession with bloodletting shocks Farmer. It turns out she's infatuated with a man who prefers pale-skinned beauties and has rejected her love. Heartbreak pushes her to dangerous extremes. Farmer warns her against bloodletting and makeup use, but who listens to caution when love blinds, determined to become beautiful by the man's standard, she insists on continuing. Seeing this, Farmer's mind races. He must create a new kind of cosmetic. He promises to meet her next week with a new product. When the cream is ready, Farmer tests it on himself. His face turns ghostly white, like a vampire risen from the shadows. Elaine, watching, grows worried. "Isn't too white makeup said to cause coughing up blood?" she asks. But Farmer assures her this formula is skin-friendly, free from lead, and mercury safe as a gentle breeze. Elaine is amazed not all cosmetics are poison in disguise. New products were just released, and when he met her, his face was as pale as a vampire. Seeing him so white, Elena grew worried. Didn't Juno once say that excessive makeup could cause bleeding? But Farmer's products were more skin-friendly, ensuring 100% safety without lead or mercury. Elaine was incredibly surprised. Not all powders contain those harmful substances. At this point, Farmer explained to her that lead and mercury are toxic substances that harm the nervous system and kidneys. He planned to tell the Queen to prohibit the production of cosmetics using these compounds. Finally, the day arrived. Chloe sought out Farmer to try the cosmetics as promised. Instead of the usual powder form, he used a whitening cream that adhered more easily to the skin and even offered some protection against UV rays. Farmer cleverly recognized that this young lady had easily sunburned skin, so he created a suitable whitening cream for her. The final touch was a dusting of setting powder that left her complexion shinier then a porcelain plate. With regular skincare, she wouldn't even need makeup to look beautiful. The next day, Pharma's cosmetics were being marketed by Lotta everywhere, eagerly sought after by everyone from young to old, from commoners to nobles. This is why his cosmetics sold like hotcakes. Freshly produced, the products flew off the shelves, leaving Chloe, who had brought friends, to buy empty-handed. Seeing him struggle with production due to a lack of workforce, Chloe suggested starting a company solely dedicated to cosmetics. She offered to invest and hire exclusive pharmacists for him without asking for any shares. Seeing the logic in it, he eagerly volunteered to prepare the paperwork so they could kick things off immediately. In no time, Chloe had constructed a spacious store, along with a team of Hazel pharmacists to back Pharma. These were experienced pharmacists who had been laid off due to maternity leave, but once they were on board, under the Queen's decree, all pharmacy products had to enter the palace. Yet Pharma boldly did the opposite, igniting the Queen's fury. Quickly, he needed to find a way to cool the flames. Pharma brought the latest lip balm to the Queen. The Queen had banned cosmetics containing lead and mercury, devastating many companies, but this indirectly gave Pharma's shop a monopoly. To ease this, Pharma agreed to send formulas and ingredients for the Queen to publicly share. He also planned to raise prices because if the sharks keep undercutting, the little fish would be boiled and bankrupt. Pharma, not needing money, happily consented. Today, Pharma and his father travelled to the Maksai region to scout trade conditions. Seeing his son so focused, his father sent him away to play by the water instead. Brolin and Charlotte were building a castle together. When they saw Pharma, the two kids swarmed him, begging to play in the sea. Pharma agreed. Elena stripped down to swim, accidentally splashing ketchup at Pharma. Watching them play joyfully together, Pharma recalled his younger sister from a past life. Back then, she was too young to swim, so he promised to play with her next year. Little did he know that would be their last time. His sister soon fell gravely ill. As the memory faded, Brolin was swept far offshore by a wave. Pharma immediately dove in to save him, but found the current pushing him back. The harder he swam, the further away his sister seemed. Desperate, Pharma wished he could erase the sea itself, refusing to lose his sister again. His wish seemed heard by the heavens as an entire stretch of ocean suddenly dried up. Pharma quickly rescued Elena, leaving her stunned. He continued pushing the water back, bringing Brolin safely to shore. Upon arrival, he used his all-seeing eye to check Elaine. Luckily, she'd only swallowed a little water. Elena was terrified. Someone able to erase entire matter felt like a force beyond understanding. Her reaction haunted Pharma all night. Theoretically, since 70% of the human body is water, overusing this power could wipe Brolin and Aline right off the planet. Charlotte noticed Pharma's brooding and apologized for his negligence that led Brolin to drift away, nearly meeting his end. Pharma was forgiving, even apologizing back for scaring everyone with his magic. Charlotte thought Pharma was incredibly cool in that moment. They finally made peace and wished each other good night. On a rainy night, the Inquisition Court received news a child without staff or shadow had erased a huge section of ocean. A teacher went to the shore to investigate and found strange traces of magic left behind. The guild leader immediately ordered soldiers to hunt and eliminate this heretic. Returning to his shop, Pharma found it busy but noticed two strange men. When he asked what medicine they needed, they suddenly attacked and fled. Pharma was suspicious. They never asked about medicine, only stared at him like watching a chicken. Even when Lotta greeted them, they brushed her off. Elaine recognized their attire was unlike local citizens. The white cloaks looked like those from the temple, a powerful religious order. Pharma warned his guards to be vigilant. The next day, as the gate guards changed shifts, a mud-covered carriage crashed into the shop, angering Brolin. This was a declaration of war against the Medicis family. Brolin asked Pharma if he had made any enemies. His mind raced through the White Cloaks and Pharmacists' guild, but decided to investigate further before jumping to conclusions. Pharma rushed back to clean up, grateful for everyone's help and encouragement to start anew. Suddenly, a girl appeared begging for help. Her father had fainted under the harsh midday sun and hadn't woken. Sensing urgency, Pharma instantly set off, mentally running through every possible condition the patient might face, prepared with first aid supplies. After a long trek up a hill, the girl vanished without a trace. There was no fainted old man, only agents from the Holy Inquisition court. Flashback days earlier, Farmer was playing a tricky question game with Elaine about the temple. Without memories, Elaine explained the temple was the supreme religious organization where newborns trained in magic and became powerful nobles. He felt guilty for using magic, excessively causing panic among the townsfolk. But Charlotte didn't share his concerns. She found him incredibly cool in that moment. Ultimately, they forgave each other and wished one another sweet dreams. Meanwhile, at the heretic court, news arrived of a child who had vanished without a trace, leaving behind only a disturbance in the ocean. A teacher went to the beach to investigate and discovered traces of strange magic still lingering there. The head of the council immediately ordered the soldiers to seek out and eliminate the heretic. When Farmer returned, he found his shop bustling with activity, but his attention was drawn to two strange men. When he approached them to ask what medicine they needed, they gave him a piercing look before swiftly making their exit. Farmer found their behavior very suspicious, as they seemed more interested in him than in any medicine. They stared at him intently, as if he were a rare specimen, and when Lotta tried to greet them, they completely ignored her. Elian noticed their attire was distinctly different from the townspeople. Their white cloaks resembled those worn by priests. Farmer felt a surge of caution and warned the guards to remain vigilant. The next day, while the guards were switching shifts, a muddy carriage crashed into the shop's door, igniting the fury of Juno, who saw it as a direct challenge to the Medicis family. Juno swore he would not let the insolence go unpunished. He asked his son if he had made any enemies, and Farmer's mind raced through the white-cloaked figures and the pharmacists, but he feared jumping to conclusions without further investigation. So he dashed back to the shop to tidy up, feeling grateful for the support of his friends who encouraged him to start fresh, igniting a spark of happiness in him. Suddenly, a girl appeared crying for help. Her father had fainted in the scorching sun and hadn't regained consciousness for a long time. Recognizing the urgency, Farmer wasted no time and set off mentally compiling a list of potential ailments the patient might suffer from. He even brought along his first aid kit. After a while, the girl led Farmer up a hill, but despite walking for what felt like ages, there was still no sign of her father. When she turned around, the girl vanished, leaving Farmer alone, confronted not by an elderly man in distress, but by agents of the heretic court. Flashing back to days prior, Farmer had been playing a trivia game with Eliane about the temple, lacking any clear memory of it. Eliane had to explain that the temple was a supreme religious organization where newborns were taught magic and became powerful nobles, so powerful that they could even appoint kings and emperors. Farmer now stood against the forces of the Solomon Temple, with Solomon himself commanding them. He ordered Farmer to step back 10 paces and cast a binding spell to restrain him. As the spell began to envelop him, Farmer felt it shatter, igniting extreme anger among the temple's troops. They unleashed their fury upon him, but Farmer harnessed his chemical knowledge, creating a nitrogen shield and sucking up the oxygen to extinguish the flames. Just when it seemed like the attack would bury Farmer, he conjured a massive ice block for defense, countering the assault and inflicting damage back onto Solomon. As the enemy pressed harder, Farmer realized that Solomon had noticed the divine seal he bore on his hand, the mark of the holy medicine. Solomon comprehended why Farmer cast no shadow, as divine beings radiate light. Acknowledging his transgression, Solomon commanded all his soldiers to bow before him, leaving Farmer in shock. Solomon, viewing his fall as divine retribution, attempted to take his own life as penance, but Farmer intervened just in time, examining Solomon's injury. His shin bone was broken, and being an open fracture, he was losing a considerable amount of blood. Initially, Farmer considered amputation, but as the light shifted from white to red, he hesitated, unsure of the right course of action. In the face of relentless pressure, retreat was no option. Solomon understood this all too well. His gaze fixated on the mysterious mark on Farmer's hand, the seal of the divine medicine, Solomon. Suddenly, the puzzle pieces clicked. Farmer cast no shadow because his divine body radiated pure light. Realizing this blasphemy, Solomon commanded all soldiers, including himself, to kneel before Farmer, a gesture so potent it dazzled their eyes, leaving them spellbound. Solomon viewed his fall not as misfortune but as divine punishment. Overwhelmed by guilt, he nearly ended his own life in atonement. But luck sided with him. Pharma intervened just in time. As Pharma examined the wound, he found that Solomon's tibia was fractured, an open break causing severe blood loss. At first, Pharma considered amputating the limb, but the light on Solomon's body shifted from white to a fiery red, forbidding such an extreme choice. Amputation would have drained even more blood, pushing Solomon towards shock and death. Pharma changed tactics, opting for a careful cast instead. The ominous red glow faded as Pharma quickly fashioned a stone bed and ordered Solomon to be laid upon it for immediate treatment. First, he administered antibiotics, then numbing injections to the back, followed by a meticulous cleaning of the wound and removal of infected tissue. Finally, he stitched and bandaged the injury, a delicate life-saving procedure. With the minor surgery complete, Pharma instructed his divine guard to escort Solomon back, promising to monitor recovery and intervene if needed. From that moment, everyone regarded Pharma as a god of both magic and medicine, an image that embarrassed him deeply. Months later, Solomon returned bearing gratitude and news of his promotion to Chief Divine Officer, his true motive to protect Pharma fiercely. Anyone daring to spread rumours about Pharma's shadowless form or demonic nature would face Solomon's wrath. Solomon's fierce glare alone silenced all skeptics, sending chills through Pharma. Then, with an air of ceremony, Solomon sent a gift, a sacred staff, a treasured relic of the divine temple. This was the legendary rod of the medicine god, a versatile artifact capable of both combat and healing. Like the mythical staff wielded by Sun Wukong, it could shrink or stretch at will. As Pharma grasped the staff, it burst into brilliant light, confirming his rightful place as the medicine god. Pharma handed the glowing staff to Ellen, but she couldn't even touch it. Such divine power was beyond mortal reach. The staff swiftly returned to Pharma's hands. Imbued with his spiritual force, Pharma astonished all by levitating atop the rod, a dazzling display that earned the admiration of both Ellen and Solomon. Before departing, Solomon gifted Pharma a talisman to regulate divine energy, ensuring Pharma's shadow would become visible whenever he wore it. Overjoyed by this blessing, Pharma finally felt free to roam the streets with his siblings, unburdened by fear or secrecy. During one such stroll, a girl appeared desperate because her usual pharmacy was overcrowded and out of stock. She came seeking medicine at Pharma's shop, only to find they lacked the needed remedy. Staff there dismissed Pharma's shop as a cheap charade, spreading rumours that his medicines were mere bribes rather than genuine cures. Pia, the rival shop owner, stepped forward with scorn, admitting Pharma's medicines were good, but only because of money. In truth, her pharmacy boycotted Pharma's goods under pressure from the local Pharmacists Guild, making it impossible for her to stock his products. Returning home, Pharma made a bold decision: he would establish his own guild, one that could stand stronger and truer than any before. This wasn't just about medicine, it was a battle for respect, trust, and the right to heal without prejudice. Pharma's journey was no longer solitary. It was a fight to redefine what it meant to be a healer in a world shadowed by suspicion and rivalry. And so, with unwavering spirit, he set forth a beacon of hope, light, and relentless determination. In this world, founding a guild is as simple as owning 2 or more shops. Pharma already controls the Otherworld pharmacy and medic shop thanks to Chloe's investments. Without hesitation, he starts the paperwork to establish a new guild. That night, the shop owner's daughter Pi falls gravely ill, yet none of the medicines in the store seem to help. Veron is fuming because the Otherworld pharmacy keeps thriving despite his efforts. He even tried to sabotage Pharma's shop by sending horses to wreck it, but it bounced back quickly. Veron chalks this up to Pharma's father and the Queen backing him. Furious at the success of the new pharmacy, Veron forbids anyone from approaching it, threatening exile to anyone who disobeys. The community cheers in support, while Pi rushes from clinic to clinic, desperate to find a doctor for her daughter. But all the doctors have quit, leaving Pi with no hope. Pharma steps in, offering to diagnose Pi's daughter, though he initially hesitates. Seeing the worsening condition, he agrees. Pharma leads Pi through a back door, which stings Pi's pride, a commoner, allowed only through the back entrance. Once inside, Pharma hands Pi a mask to prevent the girl from infecting other customers. Only then does Pi realise Pharma's true intention, protecting everyone else while treating his patient. Pharma meticulously examines the girl's symptoms, surprising Pi with his attention to detail. He even weighs her to prescribe the perfect dosage, breaking the old rule of simply halving adult doses for children. This new knowledge opens Pai's eyes wide. Pharma diagnoses the girl with a cold, shocking Pai, since his daughter has a high fever foaming at the mouth and convulsions. Pai thought she was possessed by an evil spirit. Pharma explains it's a virus invading her body. He prescribes a powdered medicine for the girl to inhale, awakening her antibodies to fight the virus. Because of her high fever, Pharma adds 3 doses of Zadal. By nightfall, her fever breaks and Pai prepares to leave grateful. Pharma carefully instructs Pai to come back immediately if she worsens. Pai asks the cost, expecting a fortune, but Pharma only wants a loaf of bread. It's the first time Pai sees medicine priced so affordably. Pharma's simple goal is to help more children get treatment. Pai finally understands why the Pharmacist's Guild can't rival Pharma's approach. Returning home, Pai confesses to his wife about seeking help at the Otherworld pharmacy. Without it, his daughter might not have survived. Pai feels ashamed, comparing himself to Pharma no magic, limited medical knowledge. Yet he vows to fight the Pharmacist's Guild and bring Pharma's medicines to the people, even if the cost is steep. The Guild's profits plummet as everyone young and old floods Pharma's shop. Even Veyron's daughter secretly buys cosmetics there. It's a slap in the face to Veyron, who smashes all the new cosmetics he bought for her in rage. Veyron summons Pai to speak. Pai boldly admits bringing his daughter to Pharma's shop and praises Pharma's care, driving Veyron into a fury. Veyron insists it's just a dirty trick by nobles to destroy the Pharmacist's Guild, after which they'll abscond with the wealth, leaving no one to save them, like when noble pharmacists abandoned his son to die. Determined, Veyron vows to crush the Otherworld pharmacy and Pharma. Pai opposes Veyron's outdated mindset and immediately earns a red card, expelled from the guild. Sure enough, the next day, Pai's shop is vandalized, all medicines smashed. Pharma arrives just in time, asking what happened. Pai explains that after he spoke out, the guild revoked his business license and seized all medicines and cosmetics. Left with no choice, Pai considers starting fresh in another kingdom. Just then, Pharma invites Pai to join his newly formed medicine crafting guild. Bathed in the light of truth, Pai weeps like a child and accepts. With medicines and cosmetics restocked, Pai hesitates to open his doors, fearing no customers will return. But cheered on by his brave little daughter, he faces the storm outside and countless customers flood in. This is the new dawn for Pai and his pharmacy. Overwhelmed by emotion, Pai can only stay silent, putting past hardships behind him, as he officially reopens the Dawn Pharmacy. Meanwhile, Camille is bound by the Inquisition's spiritual barriers. A medical genius in this world, he treats people like disposable straw, subjecting them to cruel experiments. Borodjuno wakes from a nightmare, still puzzled why his friend would do such things. The next morning, Borodjuno receives a letter from his eldest son, explaining he will be delayed returning home. After reading it, Borodjuno calls Pharma for a private talk. Next month, a grand fair will convene in the capital, drawing merchants worldwide. Pharma must be extremely cautious, as, overwhelmed with emotion, he found himself at a loss for words, reflecting on the struggles they had faced. Finally, the pharmacy was officially opened. Meanwhile, Camille was bound by the heretic court, trapped in a binding spell. He was a medicinal genius in this world, yet he treated human life as disposable, conducting horrific experiments on them. Juno, awakened from his nightmare, still bewildered as to why his friend would act this way. The following morning, he received a letter from his eldest son informing him that he would be coming home later than expected. After reading the letter, Juno called Pharma for a private meeting. Next month, there would be a fair in the capital where merchants from all over the world would gather. Pharma needed to be extremely careful as the stakes were high. At the court meeting, the death toll had significantly decreased, all thanks to Pharma and his pharmaceutical guild. Everyone present could only praise him for his efforts. Consequently, the Queen intended to bestow a title upon Pharma, but due to his youth, some opposed the idea. Thus, the matter of the title was put on hold. Nevertheless, the Queen realized that Pharma was not merely a boy. She would intervene if he posed a threat to the kingdom. The next day, Pharma shared with Eliane the news about a new lethal disease that had emerged. It was now too late to halt the influx of goods from Lenda. As he was about to propose some strategies, a design document from the palace arrived. Upon seeing the design, Pharma's mind went blank for 5 seconds, as he realized it was the plague that caused the Black Death. Pharma and Elian immediately dispatched 2 of their apprentices to Max. They would coordinate with the authorities to set up quarantine checkpoints to inspect the goods. If anyone was found to be infected, they would be isolated and treated immediately. Pharma then approached Juno to report on the plague. Not only was Pharma aware of it, but Juno was also informed. He had previously encountered the same outbreak on Earth where it spread through fleas living on rats. During the first outbreak, it claimed half of Europe's population with an extremely high mortality rate. Even more terrifying, this disease could resurface even after it had been quelled. Pharma dispatched frontline healthcare workers to prevent the spread of the plague, knowing that if it reached the capital, the city would face obliteration. Fortunately, Pharma, having come from Earth, had prepared medicine to treat this illness. He approached his father, seeking permission to inform the Queen so she could act swiftly against the first infected individual. Juno immediately sought out the Queen and received her approval. Pharma aimed to cut off the transmission route by eradicating rats and boiling contaminated clothing, and the Queen promptly issued a decree to that effect. In the kingdom, quarantine checkpoints sprang up swiftly. Pharma brought a microscope to examine samples, ready to provide free medication to anyone suffering. He issued a directive: if the plague bacteria infiltrated a person's lungs, they must be treated immediately. This disease spreads like wildfire, and the fate of the sick hangs by a thread. With the Queen's preparations complete, Pharma entrusted Pierre with the entire plague prevention mission in the capital. Though only an associate professor, Pharma felt the heavy weight of facing this historic death. Encouraged by friends, Pharma and Ellen set off for Marseille, a distant island harbouring dark secrets. There a mysterious man appeared. Everyone around him withered away, yet he remained untouched, slaughtering rats with a chilling smile. Pharma and Ellen arrived at Marseille's port, tasked with quarantining every ship that docked. Together, they met Ellen's student and halted all incoming vessels, screening every sailor's health. If the crew was healthy, the ship would be allowed through the checkpoint and purified with wind magic. Even sailors testing negative but showing plague symptoms were forced into isolated quarantine. Pharma and Ellen began their rigorous inspection rounds. As they cleared the incoming ships, one captain erupted in fury, demanding immediate unloading of his goods. Pharma calmly explained the necessity of health checks before allowing passage. Fortunately, both cargo and crew were safe, yet Pharma still prescribed vitamin C as a precaution against early infection. Presenting health certificates and prescriptions granted ships clearance and medicine. The duo pressed on to the next vessels, enduring both warm welcomes and harsh curses. Ships had lingered too long at port, carrying fresh goods and horses already booked for transport. No one wished to stay a moment longer. As arguments boiled over bursts of cannon fire silenced the chaos, Pharma turned toward the source and recognized an old friend, the fierce leader of the Red warship loyal to the crown. He declared fiercely that anyone harming the Lord's son from Marseille would face his wrath. Pharma greeted the commander warmly. The man adored Pharma's sailor candies, and since none of his crew showed signs of the plague, he wanted to order in bulk. Pharma eagerly agreed to supply them. Riding this momentum, Pharma aimed to swiftly clear every ship's quarantine. Suddenly, urgent news arrived. A small fishing village to the west suffered multiple deaths from high fever. Some merchants, frustrated by quarantine delays, bypassed the port and docked there instead, unleashing the plague's swift spread. With the crisis escalating, Pharma raced to gather supplies and head to the deadly village. Ellen insisted on stopping him. Pharma was the only one capable of conducting the quarantine, and she couldn't let him face it alone. The weight of this mission pressed down on them both as the spectre of death loomed over the village. In this desperate moment, Pharma's resolve shone brightest. He wasn't just a healer. He was a beacon of hope against the plague's dark tide. As the village's fate hung in the balance, the question remained: could Pharma's courage and knowledge stem the tide of death, or would the Black Death claim yet another chapter in history? You can go, but once your mind is set, no one can stop you. Here we have all the equipment and personnel needed to fight the plague. Pharma trusts Elan and the medical team to succeed. Swiftly, Pharma crosses 1,000 miles of forest to reach the cursed village. Upon arrival, he warns the villagers not to leave, but they stubbornly refuse. The people here are slowly dying, fading away. Seeing Pharma dressed differently, They mistake him for a malevolent spirit haunting their village. Everyone prepares to attack. Turns out these folks prefer punishment drinks over celebration wine. Pharma immediately erects an ice barrier to quarantine the village and reveals his true identity. He is the royal apothecary sent to cure the plague. His reputation is solid. They open their doors to welcome the apothecary. Before examining the patients, Pharma divides the villagers into 3 zones: severely ill, infected, and uninfected. His goal is to isolate patients to prevent the disease from spreading. Meanwhile, at the coastline, Max and his comrades spot a suspicious ship veering off its usual course. They try calling out, but no crew responds. Peering through binoculars, Jan spots 3 flags, signalling for medical aid, the highest being the plague flag. They send someone up the sail to inspect. What they find is horrifying. The crew is infected and dead. With no other choice, Gian orders the ship to be sunk. They turn it into a missing ship incident. Orders are given to obliterate the vessel, ensuring no debris carrying the plague reaches Marseille. If only those poor souls had passed the quarantine checkpoint, maybe they wouldn't have faced this tragedy. Cannons roar, and the ship is swallowed by flames. Meanwhile, Pharma and the villagers finish distributing medicine and zoning the area. Now, Pharma must venture alone into the heart of the epidemic, where a field hospital stands for the severely ill. Medical staff have all been deployed to fight the plague, leaving the research institute desperate for personnel. De Katber wants to help, but her colleagues disregard her since she's due to retire next year, and the lab faces closure. Though Katber's research spans years, she hasn't developed any cures. Her specialty lies in mold and microbiology. Everyone laments her talent going unrecognised. At this moment, Lord B. Juno summons her. Pharma enters the field hospital for the critically ill. As he steps in, someone tries to push him out, but luckily a man recognises him once part of Solomon's army. Pharma immediately recognises him too. The man introduces Pharma as the legendary apothecary, whose fame leaves everyone breathless upon meeting him. Patients begin taking the medicine and Pharma checks each person's condition. He discovers most are infected, only 2 remain uninfected. As he prepares treatment, the lights suddenly go out, a hopeful sign his medicine is working. Pharma quickly moves a recovering man to the infected zone for isolation and care. Leaving here, Pharma knows no one else but him can tend to these patients. Elsewhere, conditions worsen at the temple as the plague creeps toward the kingdom. The temple's team administers medicine. Pharma orders them to track those spreading the disease, destroy contaminated goods, and medicate the infected. Once everything is settled, Pharma prepares to depart. After a quarantine inspection, many ships have passed the checkpoint. Elaine fears she might have caused a mistake spreading the plague into the kingdom. She wishes Pharma were here and hopes she could learn more to help. Her student comforts her. She's done well. No regrets needed. Elena's worry eases a bit. Casper visits Lord B. Juno, fearing her research funding might be cut. As she plans to leave the lab, he stops her, saying her fears are unfounded. Juno only wants Katber to save the kingdom. He needs her to find a new microorganism and extract a serum to create a new medicine. He shows her a draft with details of a filamentous actinomycete used to treat plague. Casper immediately recognizes the creature. It's what he's been culturing for years. Luck or fate, he leads Juno to see the colony. Juno promptly injects funds into Katber's account to continue the research. Together, they will pour every effort into developing a new cure. Though night falls, deep, troubling news reaches Pharma. Despite treatment, 1 patient has died. The patient's condition had stabilized, so Pharma instructs those remaining to stay for 2 weeks. The ice barrier's magic will boost their immunity. They must also exterminate rats and fleas invading the village. After thorough instructions, Pharma departs. On the way, he encounters a suspicious fire and lands to investigate. A group of captives were abandoned after suddenly falling ill. They call out desperately, begging for release. Pharma negotiates if they confess they live. If they resist, they die. Not wanting to die, they reveal everything. They transported a cart full of white-tailed animals from Pantene Island, now wiped out by disease. 5 holy knights accompanied the cart. Holy knights wield powerful magic to fight for the royal family and nobility, so it's impossible they'd protect ordinary merchants. Clearly, they're spreading the plague deliberately. Previously, the Queen suffered tuberculosis and Pharma couldn't trace the source. Could this all be a sinister plot? Has the villain's failed attempt to harm the Queen pushed them to unleash a deadlier plague? With this intel, Pharma orders the temple's forces to medicate the prisoners. Once cured, they will be delivered to the royal judiciary. Lady Juno brings news from Marseille to the Queen, who immediately asks if the infiltrators have been found. So far, Juno can only confirm that the culprits are headed for the capital's fair. They expect the saboteurs to arrive today or tomorrow. The Queen commands all checkpoint guards at the city gates to heighten vigilance, especially Gate 6 facing Marseille. Charlotte distributes masks to the people. At this moment, Pi makes a discovery. No further text provided for subtitle 135. The first patient showing signs of the plague in the capital city prompted the commander to order immediate quarantine at Gate 6. Suddenly, a deafening explosion shattered the silence. Gate 6 had been breached. The soldiers hurriedly raised the iron drawbridge and secured the gate, but the holy knights tore through their defences, without hesitation, plunging into the plague medicine storage to protect it. The knight who shattered the gate was relentless. After breaking through, he unleashed white squirrels, sending them swarming everywhere. Struggling through the rubble, the commander was struck with terror. He knew those squirrels would spread the plague far and wide. He urgently ordered the soldiers to sound the alarm, telling everyone to lock their doors tight. No one was allowed to let those creatures inside. The bells tolled ominously, heralding the nightmare known as death. The Queen received intelligence that a group of 5 holy knights from this kingdom had breached the city gates. Even the army could not stop them. If the king heard this, he would be furious. Juno suspected the plague had already flooded the capital. She advised the Queen to take preventive medicine. The Queen found this hard to believe after all their kingdom, and the neighbouring land had been allies for decades, not enemies attacking with just 5 knights. With the king's recent passing, she suspected another mastermind behind this plot, someone who understood the plague's true nature. Juno's mind raced. About 3 years ago, a common apothecary had been hired. His treatment methods matched the signature of a genius pharmacist. But this man, gifted yet ruthless, used human bodies for cruel experiments. That's why the Inquisition had sealed his powers and banished him to a commoner's life. Before his exile, he experimented on prisoners, focusing on poisons and contagious diseases. It was likely he orchestrated the king's death too. This man was none other than Camus Sunder. The battle at Gate 6 raged fiercely. The 5 holy knights wreaked havoc, crushing the royal troops. Just then, Solomon appeared, wielding magic to imprison them. He quickly stripped away their divine powers. Hearing the alarm bells and the thunderous explosion nearby, Charlotte wanted to rush back for medicine to treat the wounded. But she was stopped if anything happened to her. Pharma vowed to ascend to the heavens and hold the gods accountable. It made sense, so she stayed put. Behind the king's demise lurked a sinister figure, Camus Sunder. The battle at the 6th gate raged fiercely, with the Knight of the South wreaking havoc among the royal troops. Just then, Solomon appeared, using his divine magic to bind the attackers. He swiftly stripped them of their powers. Charlotte, hearing the warning bells and the thunderous explosions nearby, felt a surge of urgency. She wanted to fetch medicine for the injured, but Pharma's words echoed in her mind. If anything happened to her, he'd storm the heavens to demand answers. Realizing the truth in his concern, she hesitated. At that moment, a bright streak in the sky signaled Mama's return. He quickly checked everyone's health. The infectious disease was spreading far and wide, carried by flying squirrels, far more contagious than rats. On his way, Pharma encountered Bruno, who reported that the situation in Marseille was under control, with Ellen managing the rest. This news eased his father's worries immensely. The golden-haired knight was coughing up blood, unaware that he himself had brought the plague to the capital. They had merely followed the orders of a sinister figure who had taken the kingdom's residents hostage, slaughtering thousands in an instant. This villain was accompanied by an evil spirit. Juno immediately inquired about the man's appearance, and it was indeed Camus, a figure with green hair, a blind eye, and a burn scar on his left cheek. As the contract was completed, 5 knights succumbed, and their lord commanded that they be laid to rest. The alarm bells ceased. Charlotte eagerly dashed back to the pharmacy, while Pharma intended to return to concoct new medicine. Suddenly, he caught a whiff of a foul odour. Activating his scope, he spotted a large shadow looming over his shop. Pharma sprinted toward the source, and just as Charlotte reached the pharmacy, the alarm rang out once more. The windows of the shop stood wide open, and she felt a rush of joy thinking her master had returned. As she unlocked the door, confusion struck her. Why were the windows open while the main door was locked? She hurried upstairs to check for intruders. Charlotte entered the laboratory to greet Farmer, but his presence was conspicuously absent. Just as she prepared to open the window, she was suddenly attacked by Camus, who advanced slowly towards her. At that moment, Farmer arrived ready to confront the threat. Scanning the lab, Farmer detected a malevolent spirit lurking within. Father and son, Mehdi and Zeishi, rushed up to the lab and found both Zeishi and Charlotte on the brink of collapse. Bruno moved to hold Camus back, buying time for Farmer to heal them. Instantly, he unleashed ice bullets to strike the attacker. Once comrades reunited in battle, they exchanged fierce blows. Charged with bitter memories, Zeishi and Charlotte had been poisoned. Farmer swiftly began the antidote, but Camus' venom was a wicked cocktail of toxins, forcing Farmer to decode and concoct multiple cures to save them. Meanwhile, Bo Juno repeated his old tricks on his friend, but none of his ice shards could pierce Camus' shield. Seizing the moment, Camus counterattacked, knocking Bo Juno to the ground and kicking him aside. Then he lunged toward the poison cabinet, clutching a vial of white phosphorus, prepared to continue his deadly experiments. But Farmer was faster, destroying the vial before the madman could act. Realizing Camus was beyond saving, Farmer dragged him to the rooftop, clutching a chicken in hand. Then, unleashing a punch that sent Camus into a furious frenzy, Farmer wondered how someone with such power could fail to grasp the beauty of rebirth. Camus saw human lives as mere weeds. Once they died, they'd simply be reborn. So he slaughtered innocents without remorse. He believed Farmer would share his fate, hunted by mortals and transformed into a malevolent spirit. Now, his face twisted with rage, Farmer struck Camus' face with a blow that seemed to shatter his very soul. With deadly precision, Farmer plunged his weapon, unleashing a purifying technique to eradicate the evil spirit within. His move birthed a sacred quarantine zone, an ancient art said to cleanse souls and extinguish plagues. The malevolent spirit within Camus was obliterated, and Zeishi and Charlotte were freed from the poison's grip. Overjoyed, Charlotte embraced Farmer, whispering, "Welcome home, young master." Soon, the plague treatment expanded across Marseille, with Ellen successfully quarantining all merchant ships to halt the deadly contagion at the harbour's gate. Remedies were mass-produced and distributed, though not all could survive the cruel disease. Vegan, stubborn in his beliefs, refused treatment and paid a heavy price. Meanwhile, the kingdom of San slowly healed. Dr. Casper's lab triumphed in developing a vaccine against the plague and other infectious diseases. 2 months later, the Queen declared the plague eradicated. Joy swept the land as a festival celebrated freedom's return. The otherworldly pharmacy reopened, buzzing with life and hope. Visitors flocked to congratulate the shop's comeback. Gian gifted Charlotte a small present, making the girl so happy she danced the cha-cha. Thanks to Farmer, the festival was a resounding success. The shop welcomed new guests, its legacy secure. Perhaps this second reincarnation granted Farmer a fuller life. Storms had passed, and his apothecary continued reigning as the most sought after in the land. And so our tale ends here. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave your thoughts below to support the channel and help us craft even better stories. Thanks for joining this journey. Until next